Meeting to order. We will note public access to meetings. The meeting is open for public attendance. However, if you have concerns surrounding COVID-19 and social distancing, we encourage individuals interested in watching this meeting to do so remotely via live stream or YouTube. The first thing we are going to do is our ceremonial oath of office for our elected board members. They have all been sworn in ahead of this meeting, but we are doing a ceremonial oath, and Carlin is going to provide that. So if everyone, the three of you could stand and take that oath.
Nick?
Four of us, I'm sorry, four of us.
Yep, there's four of us. Okay, I'll have you raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Jennifer Feeble,
Having been elected to the school board
having
been elected to the school board
of the Stevens Point Area Public School District,
of the Stevens Point Area Public School District,
swear that I will support the Constitution
swear that I will support the Constitution
of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of said office
and will faithfully and impartially
discharge the duties of said office
to the best of my ability, so help me God.
to the best of my ability, so help me God.
We will move then into the meeting opening and roll call. If Carlin could call the roll and verification of quorum.
Mr. Ebel.
Here.
Ms. Bushman.
Here.
Mr. Pope.
Here.
Ms. Portson. Here. Mr. Wade.
Here.
Ms. Scott.
Here.
Mr. Robbie.
Here.
Ms. Rano.
Here.
Ms. Erler.
Here.
I have a quorum.
All right, if we could, item 4, stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So we will move into item 5, which are public comments. We received 3 public comments through email, which I will read. The first public comment was from Maria Dietz, 4743 Emerald Lane, Stevens Point, Wisconsin, 54482, addressing item 7A. New leadership is needed on our school board. Community members, teachers, and other board members feel it is imperative that we have a school board president who will move the district in the right direction, especially with the trying times we are facing. When people are shut out or made to feel silenced and are not allowed to communicate, ultimately the needs of our students suffer. Please consider electing a new leader. Thank you for the important work you do. We have a public comment from Dawn Lass, 4517 Heffron Street, Stevens Point, Wisconsin, 54481. Item agenda address 7A. I would like to encourage the board to elect new leadership. The district needs someone who will listen and be willing to allow items on the agenda. The teachers in the district are frustrated in leaving the district for many reasons, including the fact that they feel unheard. The district needs someone who will also allow other board members to speak up and be able to discuss items that are on the agenda and also items that are not on the agenda. Please elect new leadership. Thank you. We have an email from Mark Totten, 2029 Trustic Road, Junction City, Wisconsin. Agenda item 7A. As a board member, you have no power individually, but rather only as a body. However, board members still retain their individual rights when not acting on the board's behalf. In selecting the president, do you want to have a board president that encourages or discourages? Board input on how the board operates? Board members to utilize their individual rights and not just themselves? Input/ideas from others in addition to her/himself? Board members to interact with the community and value the input. The board as a whole should be determining the agenda, not one board member. In terms of public comment for people who are here this evening, there was no one that signed up for comment. Is there anyone here this evening who would like to have public comment on any agenda items in front of the board? Seeing none, we will move forward to the selection of temporary chairperson. And we are looking for a temporary chair to be named to conduct the election of board president, who, when named, will preside over the remainder of the meeting. Traditionally, the superintendent is named by a motion and second to temporarily preside during the nomination and election of the president. So we are looking for a motion to appoint Superintendent Gerlach as temporary chair.
So moved. Second.
Okay, so motion by Ebel, second by Wade. Any discussion or questions on the motion? All those in favor with aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed with nay? The motion is carried.
Thank you. Nominations for office, are open. At this time, I will accept nominations for school board president.
I'll nominate Meg Earler.
Do you need a second on that?
No.
Yeah.
I didn't think so, I just wanted to.
Meg Earler has been nominated. Once again, I'll be asking 3 times. Are there any other nominations for board president?
I nominate Barb.
Barb Portson. And again, the third and final time, are there any other nominations for board president? Hearing none, we have 2 candidates for board president, Meg Earler and Barb Portson. Janice?
Is it appropriate or okay if, since some of us are new, can we hear from the candidates why they want to be the board president? Can we have a statement by them?
That's never happened before, but I would say yes.
We generally do that on the county board. I just think we'd be, especially the new members, we'd be interested in knowing why you're running.
You want to go first? You can go first.
We don't need a speech, I'm just in general.
I've been on the board for 6 years, and I'm a strong believer in term limits. And so I decided I would try my hand at it.
Thank you, Barb. Meg?
So I've been on the board for, I think it's 7 years, moving into 8 years. I've been the board president. I have focused on the board to support our board as well as our administration in creating partnership and progress moving forward. I believe we have been able to do so. I believe we're looking at some changes with our administration moving forward. I mean, we will have a new superintendent. We will have a new director of elementary ed and assistant superintendent, and we will also have a new director of secondary ed. We will have 2 new junior high principals. I believe in the importance of us continuing to keep our focus on proactive moving forward. Strategic planning, and allowing administration to carry out the day-to-day operation of the schools. And I would like to serve another year as president.
Thank you, both of you, thank you.
Thank you. And you have ballots in front of you.
They just go right in there, Office of President.
Office of, and then name either Meg Earler or Barb
Yep.
Portson.
Are you
Please
collecting, or?
And initial, yep, initial your ballot.
Isn't that supposed to have candy in it?
It should like take one, give one. Next year, guys, next year. Craig, will you announce?
Yes, congratulations, Meg Erler, on a 5-4 vote.
So state law allows us to use ballots for votes for officers, but ballots are public records, so any member of the board, any member of the public is able to have access to those ballots in the event someone would like to. All right, we will move into the election of vice president. Upon the recommendation of more than one member for the position of vice president, the president will ask for nominations for vice president, asking 2 times as per Robert's Rule of Order, newly revised for additional nominations prior to asking for closure of nominations. Nominations do not require a second, but a second may be recognized. Voting may be done by written ballot, but votes will be recorded in the minutes. So we are asking for nominations for vice president for the board.
I nominate Jeff Ebel.
There is a nomination for Jeff Ebel. Are there any other nominations for vice president?
I nominate Dennis.
There is a nomination for Dennis Robbie. Are there any other nominations for vice president? That was the third ask. Hearing none, we will close the nominations. And I guess, Dennis, maybe in light of what kind of, I think
Catching me
if we
by
could.
surprise.
I think both, yeah, I think it would be nice to hear from each of you.
No, I think that's appropriate too. I know that I'm new to the board, and some may feel it's a little bit brazen to be asking to be your vice president. But I've served literally hundreds of board members over 40 years. I feel that I bring a fresh perspective, not that Jeff doesn't, because I certainly have a high regard for Jeff. But I think I bring a different perspective and perhaps some more balance to the leadership team by being the vice president. And if elected, I'll do my best to represent all of you in a manner that will help us move the district forward.
Well, I think I've served almost as many years VP as you have president, right? Except for 1 year that Chris was vice president.
Actually, 2.
It's okay. I stand corrected. But I have always served in leadership at the pleasure of this board. And I will continue to do so as long as this board would have me in this leadership position. I believe that I work very well with President Erler, and also with the administration, district leadership here, so I would be honored to serve another year.
All right. So if people can vote their ballot, please.
I've been doing this for 23 years in the spring, and I get nervous every time I do this.
Why, you think your name's gonna be on it or something?
I say it to everyone, I want it to be Tuesday. Because we're a team, and you don't, you feel like
Yes,
it's
that's true. I don't like it. Yeah, we can't.
Glasses on.
yeah, it's hard. But once it stays over, then we're good. In the right place.
Congratulations, Dennis Robbie, on a 5-4 vote.
So we will move on to the position of clerk. I will ask for nominations for clerk, asking 2 times as per Robert's Rules of Order, newly revised, for additional nominations prior to asking for closure of nominations. Nominations do not require a second, but a second may be recognized. Voting may be done by written ballot, but votes will be recorded in the minutes. So I am asking for nomination of clerk.
I'd like to nominate Barb Portson.
Barb Portson has been nominated for clerk. Are there any other nominations for clerk? Are there any other nominations for clerk? Hearing none, we as a board can choose to vote by unanimous consent. I am requesting that we as a board consider voting unanimous consent for Barb Portson as clerk. Are there any objections? Hearing none, all in favor with aye? Aye. Any opposed with nay? Barb is appointed as clerk. We will now move into the position of treasurer. I will ask for nominations for treasurer, asking 2 times as per Robert's Rules of Order, newly revised, for additional nominations prior to asking for closure of nominations. Nominations do not require a second, but a second may be recognized. Voting may be done by written ballot, but votes will be recorded in the minutes. I will note that at least historically, the person who has been named treasurer on our board has also served as the chair of business HR. There is no policy that requires that at all. That has just been the practice. So I am just noting that, again, it doesn't have to be that way. That's the way it has been. I will ask for, yes,
And
Dennis.
can that be a later discussion then? We don't need to determine
Yep.
that now, correct?
The rationale. if you
Oh,
could
no,
share the rationale,
no,
yeah.
totally. No, yes, totally. I just wanted to note that.
Sure.
So,
Thank you.
all right, we will ask for nomination for treasurer.
Nominate Mike.
So I have a nomination for Mike Wade for treasurer. Do I have a second? No, excuse me, any second? Do I have any other
second.
nominations?
Oh, I'm sorry, no.
I'm sorry. Are there any other nominations for treasurer? And a third time, are there any other nominations for treasurer? Hearing none, we will close that, and I will ask, because we are able to vote by unanimous consent, there are any objections to voting by unanimous consent. Hearing none, all those in favor of Mike Wade as treasurer with aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed with nay? Mike is appointed as treasurer. We will move into appointment of board secretary. Historically, the administrative assistant to the superintendent has been the school board secretary. I am looking for a motion to approve Carlin Krautkramer as our school board secretary.
So moved.
Motion by Robbie, second by
Scott.
Scott. Any discussion or questions on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor with aye? Aye. Any opposed with nay? The motion passes. So we are now moving into selection of board and, well, you know what? I guess I'm going to ask the board if we can move item 9 up first. Because item 8 is selection of board and committee meeting dates and times. And I'm noticing that we normally configure the committees and then have a conversation about those meeting dates and times depending on the schedule for people who wind up on those committees. So I guess I'm asking the board, can we have a motion to move item 9 up ahead of item 8 on the agenda?
So moved.
Motion by Scott, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Bushman. Any discussion or questions on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor with aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed with nay? The motion carries. So we will move into election for standing board committees. So we are looking for a nomination for the position of Business Services Human Resources Chair. I'm asking for nominations. I will ask again 2 times as per Robert's Rule of Order, and nominations don't require a second, but a second may be recognized. And I am looking for nominations to Business HR Chair.
I nominate Mike.
Judy Ranow nominates Mike Wade.
I'll second that.
Chris Scott seconds that. Are there any other nominations for the Business Services HR Chair? Are there any other nominations for the Business Services HR Chair? Hearing none, I will ask the board if they are comfortable with voting unanimous consent for this nomination. Are there any objections to that? Hearing none, all of those in favor with aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed with nay? That motion passes. I am now asking for nominations for the position of Educational Services Committee Chair. I'm asking for nominations, asking 2 times as per Robert's Rule of Order newly revised for additional nominations prior to asking for closure. Nominations do not require a second, but a second may be recognized. Voting may be done by written ballot, but votes will be recorded. Do we have a nomination for the position of Educational Services Committee Chair?
I nominate G. Pope.
Dennis Robbie nominates G. Pope. Do I have any other nominations?
I nominate Jennifer Bushman.
Barb Portson nominates Jennifer Bushman. Do I have any other nominations for Educational Services Chair?
I nominate Chris Scott.
Ebel nominates Chris Scott. Are there any other nominations for Committee Chair for Educational Services? Are there any other nominations for Educational Services Committee Chair?
I nominate Judy.
Barb Portson nominates Judy Portson. Excuse me. Judy, I'm sorry, Judy. Judy Rano, sorry. Barb Portson, Judy Rano. Sorry about that. So I've asked 3 times, but I will ask again, just for point of order. Are there any other nominations for educational services? Chair.
So are we allowed to also do what the other committees
Sure.
have done? So one of the things I'd like to say is there are a number of positions here that I would not accept a nomination and when someone nominated me. This one I really wanted to accept for a lot of reasons. Years ago when the department was curriculum and instruction, I chaired that committee. I think with what's coming up with our new positions and the new people, I think it's really important to understand the structure that the committees are a leg of the board, which is really important. And it isn't necessarily that you have to understand all of curriculum, but I think you really need to understand how the process works from administration, board, and then committee. There are a number of times that people want to talk about items that don't necessarily fall to the committee or board, and I understand the process, which I think is really, really important, especially with a new superintendent, a new assistant superintendent of elementary education, and then also the director for secondary education. It's a process, and chairing that committee, which is coming up with, we lost our last chair, I really understand that process and how to move it forward, and I think, like I said, this isn't an ego thing. I really understand it, and I think with the new things coming in, it's really important to process that with the board, and I think I can offer something just from my institutional knowledge of how this system works. So that's why I'm accepting the nomination.
In order?
Yep.
I am accepting the nomination as a new school board member. I can offer new lens, new perspective, outside in business, coming from the learning and development background in the private sector. I offer that, and I look forward to serving if elected.
I also accept the nomination. I have served as the chair for this committee before and been very involved in education. I am here to serve, the community as well as the needs of the board. So I will accept whatever position you feel is best for me.
And I accept the nomination. Education is my area of expertise. I spent my career in it. I know one of the incoming people, Jeff Mills, very well. I've worked with him in the past, and I'm glad to see him back. I spend a lot of my time now talking to staff, teachers, principals in other districts, and in our district too, before I was on the board. But I'm all over the central part of the state, Wisconsin. I bring information from other places. What are they doing? And I bring it from a ground level. What are teachers in the classroom thinking? Where are we after COVID? I value data, but I also value the voices of people actually doing the work. And that's why I want to be chairman of this committee.
So I will ask the board for a vote. I want to note for the board that this position does require a majority vote. So we have 4 candidates. The highest people with vote will move on, but ultimately the person who is selected will need a minimum of 5 votes. So I just want the board to be aware. So we may have more than 1 vote on this. So if board members could vote. Depending on the numbers, it could be
Depending on the
3.
numbers.
Yeah.
Somebody would receive 5 votes. We have
Right.
the candidate.
If board members can remember to initial their ballots, that's something we're required to do.
This one anymore.
It's a tough one. I don't mind doing it. It's tough, you know. It's like, I think everybody ought to have a shot at doing it.
Then you have to go to the convention.
Yeah, yeah. I've enjoyed doing it. It's very interesting.
We will need to vote again. Our top vote getters tied are G. Pope and Chris Scott.
A lot of these.
We're gonna need more of these.
Congratulations, G. Pope, on a 5-4 vote.
Thank you.
So we will move into the appointment of board members to standing committees. If we could, we've got the whiteboard, maybe we can put G in as chair. And down at committee members, Corey?
Services chair would be G.
Oh, where you at here? Oh, here.
These are interested, so.
Oh, gee, got it.
And then Jennifer and G would both.
So we have G. Pope as chair. Jennifer, Judy, and Chris have indicated interest in being on that committee.
Okay. I will plug in wherever, especially with the new members, wherever I can do either committee. Either one is fine with me. So if other board members have preferences, I've served on both, and I'm happy to just plug me in where you need me.
So the board president does not serve on a committee. The other 8 members of the board serve on committee. And we've been, the last few years, people have really just kind of slotted in with what their interest is. So right now we've got Jennifer indicating interest on Ed Services. G. Pope is chair. Judy has indicated interest. Judy, is
And
that?
I could go either way as well.
Okay. So I guess I'm looking for direction. Maybe we could just go around and,
I would like to be in the education services.
okay,
yes.
so we've got Jennifer Bushman on Ed Services.
Judy Rano said she'll go anyway. Judy said she'll go. How many do you want on each? 3 on each? Is that what you're looking for?
Excuse me?
Are you looking to have 3 on each?
We're looking for each board member is going to be on a committee. So it's really board members figuring out what is your interest.
So Judy, if you choose one of those other 2, then maybe.
Yeah.
And we've accommodated people by their interest.
Anybody else have a strong preference? I think, yeah.
Barb?
Yeah,
Ed
Barb.
Services.
Barb would like Ed Services. So we have 3 members, Ed Services. Is there any other board member who would prefer that committee?
I have a,
I was gonna say, can go
just-
Ed Services.
yeah, I just had a question. Is it going to make a difference what time? Are we going to talk about
That's what we're
that?
going to do next.
Okay, but wouldn't that possibly change where people are or you're not?
I don't think so.
Okay, I'm just, fine, just asking.
What, that one is at 6?
and-
One will be at 6 and one will be at 7. And once we configure the committees, then we can determine if there's a preference from committee members for one of the times or the others. We've flipped times, for starting times for committees in the past.
I'm happy to choose Ed Services unless, Judy, you want to do
No,
it.
that's fine. I can take business.
Okay, so Chris has indicated interest in Ed Services, and Judy has. So we have Mike, Dennis, and Judy on Business HR. Jeff, are you okay with being on Business Services HR?
Sure, I mean, I'm okay with it. Unless somebody else wanted.
No, you're it. Just you.
It's not a punishment job. Punishment, okay?
Not spending your money, it's okay.
So we have committee members for Ed Services would be G. Popis, Chair, Jennifer Bushman, Barb Portson, and Chris Scott. We have for our Business and HR Committee, Mike Wade as Chair, Dennis Robbie, Judy Branow, and Jeff Ebel as committee members. Any discussion or question on that? If not, I guess I would ask for a motion to approve the committees as configured.
So moved.
Motion by Dennis. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Judy. Any discussion or questions on that motion? All those in favor with aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed with nay? So now we'll move back into the selection of board and committee meeting dates and times. Our committee meetings have met on the first Monday of the month. We have 2 new board members. We want to make sure that works for their schedules. We also have we haven't had committees meeting for a while. We had Ed Services from 6 to 7, and then we had Business HR from 7 to 8. I guess I'm putting it out for discussion for those members who are on the committee as to whether they are comfortable with that Ed Services at 6, Business HR at 7, or if they would like to switch them up or change that for whatever reason.
I'm favorable with it as is.
Me too. Having Business Services
Second.
second? Okay, one comment I would make is
My bedtime.
Ed Services usually has a tendency, because I think anyone who's been involved in it, there's a lot of discussion. They tend to go over. So if the conversation or discussion or deliberation is going to go over, I'd rather have it be at 7 than at 6, because then you have to cut it off. somebody else is waiting. And we've had that where people are waiting for the other community members are waiting. So just a comment.
We can ask our leader to be very timely with that.
Yeah. Well, it's hard.
Well, and
Chris
we
has
have
a lot of
been,
experience
When you have
with it.
presentations and that, and I'm fine with either, I'm just bringing it up as a possibility.
I mean, our last couple meetings, the only two we've had in 2 years, right? Committee meetings were very short, you know, the last one was cut short.
I'm fine with either.
But I, your experiences, they've been long, so I would,
So you're asking to go at 7, is that correct?
yeah, I mean, Chris is.
Do you have an issue
got
with
the
that?
experience.
One thing to consider, oftentimes the Ed Services Committee has staff members come in to help present. So if, you go at 7.
6.
Yeah,
Yeah.
6 is generally
Better.
more appealing
Better.
to staff.
Okay.
I think we only have one person here with little children at home, so if we could also recognize that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then if it gets to be long, I mean, maybe, and then maybe alter it.
So,
We
yeah.
can always change it, too.
Right.
Yeah.
And the chair can take control of, watching the time of presentations and that, so.
And is it also possible we could start at 5:30 for that meeting? I mean, is that, if we had to change it, or is it?
I don't know. Maybe we could leave it at the 6, 7, and then,
I mean, if we have to
something
adjust it, I'm
else-
saying
yeah,
we
if
could
something
adjust the
happens,
other
We
we
direction. too.
anticipate a
Yeah.
big meeting
Yeah.
could start.
All right.
True.
So committee meetings historically were starting at 6:30, and board members moved it to 6. And that took some adjustment, because people, we couldn't remember, right? The board meeting starts at 6:30, the committee meetings start at 6. I think that the concept of 6 was more accommodation of the public, recognizing a lot of people in the community work till 5 or 5:30. They need to get home if they want to come to our meeting. They may need some adjustment time, but you're correct, Dennis. I mean, if for whatever reason we saw in Ed Services was going to be much more substantial, there, again, we could poll the committee and set it for a 5:30.
Go 6 and
If
see how
the
it
committee
goes.
members
Yeah.
were comfortable with that.
And Monday's okay with
Or
everybody?
we, right,
Business services back a half an
Right.
hour too.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Staff would always prefer earlier than later.
right.
Right.
They want to go home.
After being here all day, why would you want to go?
Why would they?
Do you need a motion on that?
Yeah, so I need a motion on that first Monday of the month, Ed Services at 6, Business Services at 7.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion by Scott and second by Pope. Again, recognizing accommodation if administration reaches out to committee about that. Any discussion or questions on that? All those in favor with aye?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed with nay? Motion carries. So now we will be moving into the appointment to ad hoc committees. These are committees that, again, traditionally, people have shown interest for. Some of them meet, most of them meet, not often, but it's important for board members to be a part of them. So we will move forward with the Boston School Forest. And I will just note that Barb Portson, Judy Ranow, and Chris Scott have all indicated interest for this. So I'm looking for, I guess, a motion for a board member. And maybe if the three of you, maybe you could just,
Yeah, I'm going to pull my name off.
okay. And so we have
Judy and Barb.
Judy and Barb who have indicated interest.
I'm fine either way. Again, I said I'd be interested in any of these that we need. So Barb, if you want to go ahead and do that one.
their meetings have been at 4.
Yeah,
Does your work schedule allow that?
it would.
Oh, okay.
I'm no longer in Wausau, by the way, so that's why I can now do this. I'm now in town.
Well, let's switch off. I think
Okay.
you had it before.
Yeah, we've kind of flip-flopped.
You can have it this time.
Okay.
So I'm looking for a motion for Judy Ranow to be on the Boston School Forest Committee.
So moved.
Motion by Scott, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Bushman. Any discussion or questions on that motion? All those in favor with aye? Aye. Any opposed with nay? Motion carries. We're moving into CISA 5 delegate.
I'm Boston Sewell Forest, I'll pull my name.
All right, so CISA 5, Dennis, then would be, Dennis and Judy had indicated interest. Are you still interested, Dennis, in that?
I am, yes.
Okay. Are there any other members of the board who are interested in that position? Hearing none, I would ask for a motion to approve Dennis Robbie as the appointment of board member to the CISA 5 delegation.
So moved.
Motion by Scott, second by Bushman. Any discussion or question on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor with aye? Aye. Opposed with nay? We will move into the District Negotiations Committee. And we have Jeff Ebel, Dennis Robbie, and Chris Scott, who have indicated interest in that position.
And that's more than one, correct? We have, how many members do we have on there?
There are two members that are on negotiations.
I'll pull my name then, since I have these other two things, so.
Okay.
yeah.
All right, so Dennis has pulled his name. So Jeff and Chris have indicated interest. Are there any other board members interested in negotiations? Hearing none, I would look for a motion to approve Jeff Ebel and Chris Scott to the District Negotiations Committee.
So moved.
That was a motion by Judy and a second by Mike. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor with aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed with nay? Motion carries. We will move into the Technology Steering Committee. Technology Steering Committee, we had Jennifer Bushman, Barb Portson, Judy Ranow, and Mike Wade indicate interest on that committee. Any thoughts about it from board members who expressed interest?
I'd like to pull my name off.
Barb would like to pull her name off.
I'll pull mine too.
Judy is pulling her name off.
So will I.
Mike Wade is pulling his name off.
It's all yours.
Thank you.
Jennifer,
And how do you feel about
Jennifer
it?
is the last person standing. Jennifer, are you still interested in that position? Okay, so I am looking for a motion to approve Jennifer Bushman for the Technology Steering Committee.
So moved.
Motion by Ebel, second by Robbie.
Sure.
Any discussion or questions on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor with aye? Aye. Any opposed with nay? We're moving into WASB Delegate Legislative Liaison, and we have Jennifer Bushman and G. Pope, who have indicated interest in that position.
I will pull my name.
Jennifer is pulling her name from that position. G, are you still interested in that position?
Yep.
Are there any other board members interested in that position, the WASB Delegate Legislative Liaison?
Gee, did you do that last year?
No,
You did that last year.
I was.
Mike did it.
Mike stood in.
Oh, you did?
I think
Okay.
Mike stood in.
Okay.
Yes.
For
Put in
Ann.
for Ann, I
For
believe.
Ann,
Stood in for
that's
Ann.
right, okay.
Yep.
I
Yep.
just wondered, it's a great, if you haven't done it before,
Yep.
it's a great intro for you guys,
Yeah.
for new members.
So I will be looking for a motion to appoint G. Pope as the board member for the WASB Delegate Legislative Liaison.
So moved.
Motion by Scott, do I have a second? Second by Bushman. Any discussion or questions on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor with aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed with nay? Motion carries.
Business person, I'm dead.
We're into item 12, general. It's the approval of signature facsimile resolutions. This is an annual event based on what we did tonight. It's approving those people holding office in the board to be able to have their signatures as facsimile for certain contracts coming before the board in the district. So I'm looking for a motion to approve to continue the signature facsimile use resolution and the new signature facsimile resolution.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Rano, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Scott. Any discussion on that motion? All those in favor with aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed with nay? Motion carries. Moving into future, we have a May 9th regular school board meeting coming up. We have a June 13th regular school board meeting coming up. We as a board have held a board retreat over the last number of years. COVID clearly interrupted us a bit. Our hope is that we will have that in June or July as it works out for board members. So Carlin will be sending out to the board probably this next week a calendar invite just for us to get a sense of what board members' availability will be, because, you know, people's summer months fill up quick. The meeting in the past has been in the evening. It's been typically a 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock meeting. The last couple times we've had it, we have had administration present for the first half. It has been a focus on administration providing some goals, ideas about how they're moving forward into next year. It has been the superintendent. In the past, it's been us frankly evaluating. That's when the superintendent's evaluation occurs at the end of the school year, moving into that next year. Goal setting for the superintendent coming into that year. And then the board having their first discussion about goal setting for the board. So that has been the substance in the past. We're open to suggestion moving forward. This is something we've been doing since Lee Bush was the interim superintendent with us. So again, Carlin will send that out, but if board members have any thoughts or suggestions about Dennis, go ahead.
Just a quick question, and then maybe a thought. But when you say the second session, when does that generally happen? You said the second session for the board to develop their goals, either as for the board or for the superintendent.
Same night.
So typically we've had administration, we've had kind of a
I
social
see.
gathering at 6. We've had administration present kind of their goals, kind of how they're moving forward. Then we've had the superintendent provide us with what Craig's goals were as superintendent, and then the board would have an initial discussion that night.
That's what I'm asking is when is the follow-up discussion?
That would be at the board meeting in August typically.
But not that would be a board meeting, not necessarily a planning session.
Right.
It has not been in the past. That doesn't mean it couldn't be moving forward.
I'm not only speaking for myself, obviously, but I would prefer to have the board have their discussion of goals and goals for themselves and for the board. I'd rather have that during the summer session so that we can flesh that out rather than having it in a board meeting and then people not feel, I think we should be able to feel, more able to discuss things ahead of time. So I would rather spend either more time on a day or a couple days in a row to flesh that out rather than waiting for the board members portion of it later on.
I agree.
And that's been, I think it's been more of a board response kind of that night, and our board kind of having the conversation. Do we want to make the decision at that meeting, or do we want to think about it? We as a board, our board has, I think, over the course of the last several years, really focused on just a couple of goals. Frankly, COVID. COVID focused us on that. But so Dennis, that's, again, if the board is comfortable at that retreat, making those decisions and setting that, I think that would be fine too.
And we won't know, obviously, until we actually have that. But
Correct.
I guess that in planning for it, I would suggest that maybe we have a larger block of time so that we're not confined by time. If we are into a really good discussion, and then we say, okay, now the time's up, I think we'd feel, that would
We could
retreat
extend it,
somewhat.
right.
Right.
So I think if we could plan on having more time so that we can have a block of time, and we may get there and we may say, you know what, let's hold off, or we may be able to hammer out some things that we, feel are beneficial too.
So we could, I don't know, we could look at maybe start time at 5?
Yeah.
Well, I had something else I wanted to add to that. For a couple of years now, we've been talking about training sessions, the diversity, equity, inclusion training sessions. We put it off, and I'm thinking, I don't want to pile everything on a retreat, but I think it's time that we do that and ask people to come and help us with that. We planned it all out and then stopped, and I think we should do that and do it soon.
I guess 5 o'clock, if we start at 5, I just want to feel that we can have our discussions till everyone feels like we've had our discussion. So it may go till 7, it may go till 8, it may go, whatever it takes to have the discussion so everybody feels that we've heard each other and we've everyone has a chance to say these are important to me and find out what is important to each of the other board members. So I don't have a problem start at 5. I just don't want to limit it to, okay, now the board has 30 minutes to discuss things, because we'll never, that's not quality time.
If I may, over the last couple of years, and of course, COVID had a lot to do with this not happening, we've had discussion of having John Ashley come to a board meeting. I've had John, and back in the days, Miles Turner, who's our WASDA
Right.
executive director, several times. Last week, we had our state school superintendent's conference. Our school attorney, Shayna Lewis, did an outstanding job giving a sectional on school board superintendent relationships. I would suggest you bring in Shayna Lewis. That is our legal counsel that we work closest with. Now, we just created, Dennis, an agenda, that just starts to grow, but I think it's very important. I'm looking around the table. Barb, you were elected the year I came here, but you were not you were not a standing member. There are 5 new board members in here since I've been elected. There's been a lot of change. I would highly suggest you bring in, if not Shayna, somebody to have conversations regarding school board superintendent relationships.
This is pretty
It's too
short.
valuable. It's so valuable that Corey build a strong relationship with this board to be successful. We've all seen it in the past. If the administration, not that we're going to agree on everything, nor should we. When the administration and the school board are on the same page, generally moving in the same direction, we're going to be okay. But these conversations are happening all over the state of Wisconsin right now. And after spending a couple of days with my colleagues last week, school board issues are all over the board right now. And there are a lot of people that are very concerned about the direction of public education.
Yeah. And I like that idea. I'm just not sure if we want it on the same day as we're trying to do the things.
Yeah, I understand.
But I like that.
I would certainly suggest prior to school starting, when you really start diving into the new school.
And maybe, again, it's everyone's preference, but I wouldn't have a problem having that before we have our goal-setting meeting. I wouldn't have a problem having it after the goal-setting meeting. I just wouldn't want it on the goal-setting meeting, because now we're even having less time to do the discussion that some of us feel is so important. So,
Well, there's not much planning time to invite somebody, who knows if they can come, between now and June, end of June or.
doesn't have a July, have it in early August.
We don't have to have one retreat. I mean, if we're really interested in this, and I mean, they're all great ideas, but how do we communicate with each other to say, this is what we want to do? Do we want to do this now and then do this later, or, is that something that, like Corey would want to decide, or Meg?
We internally, when I say we, now this is a little unusual for me because of this transition, I would say, I would get together with Meg and then now Dennis, and we'd bounce some ideas off. Carlin would said something out, and we'd get some feedback from the board, and then we'd start looking at dates. Based on this conversation, I can see certainly a need to have a couple meetings prior to the school year starting. There is also, I think, merit having, if it's Shayna or somebody else, coming in out of the gate.
I think it's good.
And then that might occur first. She is, where are you going? you're going to,
Scotland.
yeah, I think that's where she's gonna be too.
All right, I'll see her there.
At the
We'll-
same
we'll-
time.
We'll work it out.
Yeah, you'll probably be at the same pub.
Small
Give you the
country.
presentation, you give it to us.
But we can get some information out to draw. The most difficult thing, and of course, time is challenging for everyone. Summer is probably the most because everyone's got a family,
As a life.
something going on.
Well, let's have, if it's okay, just have Carlin send out some, like, 1 or 2 meetings and see what the availability is, and then we decide how we want to do those meetings. But I agree 100% that having those people come in, especially to a new board, any board, especially boards during this time and era when things have gotten a little bit combobulated, I think would be a great idea. And we have new members like myself as well.
Well, and it might be helpful to take a look at Shayna coming in. I don't know if she'd be able to commit to like our regular June board meeting.
That'd be great.
You know, I mean, so she's at a board meeting because then it's not, it's the board hearing, but it's also our community
Yeah, I think that's a
hearing, which I
wonderful
think
idea.
is
If she-
Early
important.
June
She's
works
available.
for.
So if our June board meeting works, otherwise potentially August, I mean, either.
Yeah.
But then I think we also do need to have Carlene send out a save the date for a board retreat.
Right.
That gives us that flexibility of whatever it is, starting
that
at
idea.
5 o'clock till 9 o'clock, whatever. I mean,
Whatever
so
it
that,
takes.
so that we've got that date saved.
I think it's a wonderful idea.
Yep. So,
Are there any particular days of the week that are not good for?
Sunday morning.
Friday. I mess with Friday. I'm kidding.
I think Friday is probably a day when most of us
Tuesdays
don't.
and Thursdays, my kids play baseball and soccer, so I
So
do.
Wednesday, maybe.
Or
You're
Monday.
talking about
Unless
the
you're very
retreat?
religious.
You know, Mondays, we kind of save for board anyway.
Yeah, it's perfect.
For what?
let's just throw out June.
Typically try to
Well,
wait.
Let's
to hit
throw out
Mondays.
June and July. I mean, we clearly have committee 1 week and we got board 1 week. But let's throw out June into July, just like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and see what works for people.
Sounds great.
Sometimes we cancel our July meeting though, too.
We do,
Because nobody's around.
right, right.
But
So that's
we've already heard ideas that would take up a whole summer if we wanted to do them all.
Right.
And we can't do that.
You're right.
What's that?
So, you know, we got a lot of stuff already discussed, and when do you find time?
Well, just as a reminder, though, as a board, our responsibility is to form some of the questions, but we're not responsible for getting all the answers. And I think that's a good conversation of the board. What are our priorities as a board, and what are our priorities for the district? And then we turn it over to our professionals, and they do the work.
Right, and we traditionally, over the last number of years, have really listened
Absolutely.
from the ground up. I mean, at least I believe it's important for us to understand what the professionals working for us believe are the priorities. I mean, that's how we set our strategic planning, that's how the superintendent sets their goals, and that's how we as a board have worked to set our goals. So we'll send out, again, a ticker from Carlin, and then we'll look to get in touch with Shayna to see if she can be here in June or August for us.
Thank you.
that-
She indicated that
Yep.
June likely will work for her.
Okay, that's perfect.
It's the month of May, I think, that she's
Okay.
tied up.
Good. All right, are there any other discussions on that? Hearing none, I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Ebel, second by Robbie. Any discussion? All
Thank
those in
you.
favor with aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed with nay? We're adjourned.
Okay,